Spring's in the air this morning as Editor-in-Chief Doug Stange makes further judgments about how understanding the nature of fish affects fishing success.
There we go. Woohoo! Moon's calling in the background. First smallmouth of the season. Doesn't get any better than this, I don't think. Into the Stowmaster, up and in. There. Whew. I tell you what, I am a happy guy. First smallmouth of the season, about the fourth cast of the season. Tell you what, when it comes to catching smallmouths consistently, or really any fish consistently, you have to understand the nature of the fish that you're going after. And one of the key things to doing that is understanding calendar periods. Now, there's 10 periods of fish response, as In-Fisherman calls them, spread out over the course of a 12-month calendar period. And the key marker point in the springtime is always when the fish are going to spawn. So you have a cold water period right after ice out, then you've got a pre-spawn period, then you're going to have a spawn period. I don't care which fish species you're after, but we're going to talk smallmouths today. So I'm going to get him back in here. That fish has actually got a tag on him right there. There you go.
The progression in water temperature keys understanding where smallmouths will be and what they might be doing. With temperatures below about 52 degrees, fish tend to still relate to deeper water, although they do push into shallow areas on mild days. Once water temperatures push into the mid-50-degree range, the pre-spawn period begins, and fish tend to begin pushing into shallow bays. Actual spawning doesn't begin until water temperatures reach a sustained 62 to 64 degrees.
They were just where they should have been. Right on the shallowest tip, about 10 feet down. You gotta keep us off this spot here, because they are spooky a lot of times. They're oftentimes real, as you can see, these are fairly heavily schooled up right now. They're in little packs. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that anglers make in the springtime is making the assumption that smallmouths won't be shallow when the water's still cold. In fact, we've often had days right immediately. I mean, we've been out here when there's still ice on the banks, and you know, not 2 days after literal ice out, and had fish by the afternoon move up into 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 feet of water. There we go. Coming up. Oh yeah, big fish. You know, sometimes when you're into a group of smallmouth like this, sometimes there's so many little fish on a spot that the big fish just get out-competed. Now that's not always the case. Sometimes the big fish will simply move the small fish off too. So you never really know. And then again, sometimes they're just mixed in, I guess. You'd say, boy, is that a fat fish right there. That fish is 3 3/4, almost 4 pounds right there. Nice fish. Well, let's go see what's shallower. We may just actually be on the tail end of where the fish actually are. And it's 9:30 in the morning right now. The sun is starting to peek through all these clouds. We've had 4 days of rainy weather. The nature of the fish in this situation is going to tend to be even more aggressive, I think, as the day moves on. They're going to push shallower. They're going to be after bait fish. So it's going to be an interesting hunt. Hooked in the chin, you missed it. Felt like a bigger fish. That's another tagged fish right there. We had one earlier this morning. But that's the first fish that we found pushed in real shallow here. They're not swarming the shallows yet, it doesn't look like. We'll keep looking. So far, our pattern is, based on the nature of the fish at this time of the year, that these fish are probably still connected to semi-shallow stuff, but still relating to deep water. The next spot we go to, that's what I'm going to look at first, is that shallower stuff connected to deep water. Big single fish. It feels like a good one on this point here. Again, leading back into one of these bays. Come on. There we go. Wowzer. 4-pounder. Close anyway. And still the morning hours and nice long fish. They continue to be on that jig pretty good. So we'll stay at it. Again, there's no set temperature when pre-spawn starts and cold water ends. It's just a matter of fish attitude, and as you get closer to spawning, obviously, the fish continue to spend more and more time shallow. Now obviously if our pattern holds up, as we push back into this bay, we're going to run out of fish. These fish just aren't, you know, it's still 49 degrees, they're still mostly relating to the deeper water. There we go. Big fish. There we go. Nice fish again. Right on the point, leading into a bay. That's the pattern, there seems to be, for what we've got going right here. And they've been pretty much on the jig so far. You know, nature of the fish takes a long time to understand a lot about any given fish species, but the more you know, the more you're going to understand, the more you're going to be able to get on fish during any particular calendar period. These calendar periods, once again, they are absolutely vital in understanding what's going to be happening, to patterning the fish. Nature of the fish is all it takes, just a little bit of understanding.